what's the fastest way to enter the ID field? This one says specifically from teaching, but I think that it doesn't matter. I think it's
Yeah,
really universal.
I don't think that there's a quick way,
Yeah.
if that makes sense. Um, Everybody has different skills that they bring with them from
Mhm.
whether it's teaching or healthcare or graphic design. So those transferable skills put you ahead, right? So I would say you needing to do an inventory of your transferable skills. That is probably going to be, I'm going to just throw a number out, 25% of 100, right? And then from there, if you're looking to do instructional design, where most shops, like most places, you have to be able to do both design and develop,
Yes.
right? It's going to take time. You can take your experience from, and it also depends on your age groups too. Like where are you coming from in that? Are you teaching adults typically? Are you teaching kindergartners because you have andragogy and pedagogy and all of the differences? And I am definitely pro teacher coming into the field, but if somebody says, "Oh, teaching kids is just like teaching adults," it's not.
It is not.
So, I think that you have to get into that. So, I don't think there's a quick way. I think I've seen people transition who made it a job. Like, they did it 40 hours a week for 3 months, and that's what they did, and they were able to land work. But that's not realistic for most people. So it's also how much time do you have to dedicate to your transition, and that's what's going to make it faster or slower. And is there a right way to upskill? Um, I think yes, there is a right way to upskill in the sense of if you're going to go do your storyline trial, right? Or an e-learning trial that has a limited set of time, you want to do all your front end work, your storyboard, your graphics. You want to have all of that ready so that when you're in the tool, you are learning the tool. You're not trying to design.
I so agree with that. And whenever I'm in some, as instructional designers in this space, we're in a lot of different groups. We're in Reddit groups, we're in LinkedIn groups, we're in other Facebook groups. And it's so often I'll see somebody post a question of like, where do I start? And then you see storyline, rise, captivate. And I'm like, that's the tool. We need to get to the instructional design first before we get into that. So I love that that's how you're responding to that question because to me, that's all foundational. And you need that foundation before you can go in and start building incredible learning
Yeah.
experiences.
So one of my good friends, we look at it as IDs like four buckets, right?
Mhm.
You have your instructional design bucket, right?
Yep.
And that's your foundation. If you don't have good instructional design, it doesn't make, you can throw lipstick on a pig, it's not going to make a difference, right?
Yes.
It could be beautiful, but if it doesn't have solid instructional design, it's not going to be worth anything. Then you have your graphics and visuals. Well, you can have great instructional design, but if you don't pair it with at least something that looks decent, it's going to throw it off as well, right? So you have those
Absolutely.
two buckets. Then you get to the tool bucket and the technical skill. And then the last bucket, which really you need to think of at the beginning, which is the deployment bucket. How are you going to deploy it? Right?
Yes.
But if you don't know how you're going to deploy it, you don't know what tool to choose or what instructional design strategy that you're going to employ. So, I see a lot of people like they'll say, "Oh, I'm doing a volunteer project." Well, most volunteer clients aren't going to need an e-learning. So you're like, "Oh, I can do an e-learning for you," but they can't deploy it. They don't
Right.
have, if they had an LMS, likely they would have somebody who can design for them. So
Absolutely.
thinking that, with volunteer clients, it might be a little video. It might be a PowerPoint and facilitator guide. Most volunteer clients are not going to need an executable e-learning.
So just to wrap this question up for you, you've got to put in the effort. There is no going from one, I mean, sometimes it happens, there's always exceptions to the rule, but there's no going from one career to the next without rolling up your sleeves, doing the work to get skilled up and knowledgeable in this space. And as Tabitha said, that's going to take as long as it takes based on your availability.